Welcome to Bet Parks Saturdays, here from the Sportsbook at Parks Casino in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Jeff Skversky, alongside my producer, Andrew Frazier, who is off screen right now. We are coming to you from the Sportsbook in Bensalem at Parks Casino on a cold morning, waking up to snow on the ground as the Eagles are getting set to head out west to face the LA Chargers on Monday Night Football. We have a jam-packed show for you today. Hollis Thomas, the former Eagles star defensive tackle, he'll join us in just a few minutes to talk about everything going on with the Birds. And boy, do we have to unpack a ton going on with the Eagles. Obviously, when you look at this football team, all of the issues, offensively, defensively. Now you don't have Jalen Carter for this week, maybe the next few weeks. We'll find out. We're also going to talk to Eddie Alvarez, the UFC legend and the Philadelphia native. He will join us. He's making a special appearance here this evening for the UFC fight. And we're going to get into much more. Former Phillies general manager Ruben Amaro Jr. will join us in the 1 o'clock hour to talk about everything going on with the Phillies. There is, of course, the winter meetings going on. Things should be heating up. What's going to happen with Kyle Schwarber? What's going to happen with JT Realmuto and this Phillies team? Will Nick Castellanos finally be traded, released? We're going to get into all of that. What he would do if he was still the Phillies GM. We're going to talk so much about that. We're going to check in on the Chargers and what the Eagles are potentially looking at with ESPN reporter Chris Rim, a Philadelphia native who went to Central High School. We're going to check in with him at 12:45. And, of course, Brad Feinberg, our betting expert. He will come on to talk about the Eagles and much more. The Birds, 2.5-point favorites as they get set to go to LA and hopefully end this 2-game losing streak. It has been a very, very long, 10 days between games for the Eagles after everything that transpired in that Cowboys loss, the way they lost that and blew that game, and, of course, what happened against the Bears on Black Friday. At least after the Cowboys game, bam, you get right back at it and you face the Bears. But that, of course, was a dud, and we have to certainly get into that. But let's just start with this. Is this a must-win for the Eagles on Monday night? Absolutely, yes, a must-win. You cannot, first of all, let this team's confidence just continue down into the gutter. Absolutely not. And then secondly, maybe the most important thing, when you forget about confidence for a second, they cannot let the Cowboys hang around. And going into this game, they have a 95% shot at making the playoffs, okay? 95% shot. So this Philadelphia Eagles team cannot keep the door open for the Dallas Cowboys, who got some help from the Lions the other night on Thursday Night Football. The Lions beating the Cowboys, that certainly helps. But when you look at this Eagles team, they get a win against the Chargers in L.A. They're 2.5 games up on the Dallas Cowboys. That should all but put away the NFC East, and the Eagles can repeat as back-to-back champions for the first time in this division since 2004. That hasn't happened, think about that, in more than 20 years by any team. So certainly when you look at this division and when you look at where the Eagles are and where they can go, man, oh man, this football team, they need to shut the door, because if they were to lose to the Chargers, Dallas will be within a game and a half, okay? So when you think about just how close that'll be, and then you look at the rest of the NFC picture, looking at this picture, Tampa Bay, they're 7-5. Seahawks 9-3, right? And they're not a division, a division leader right now. It's the Rams, who, likely are going to walk away with the 1 seed. You have the Packers, you have the 49ers, you have the Lions. Don't forget about the Lions, okay? So this NFC picture is nothing but easy. And everyone, look, rightfully so, has been complaining about the Eagles, and it has not looked up to their standard. Even the Eagles will tell you that. But I will tell you, the Eagles have had a very, very difficult schedule. And they have some very good wins. I mean, they beat the Rams. They beat the Bucks. They have some good wins against the Lions. Certainly when you look at their losses, they're tough, right? I mean, that Giants loss on Thursday night earlier in the season was awful. The Bears loss was awful, but the Bears are a good team. They lost to the Broncos. The Broncos are a good team. And they lost to the Cowboys in a really ugly fashion. But think about that Cowboys game, and you think about the way they play each other. If you just think about it like this, I always go into the season going, if you just split against your rivals, no matter how bad the Cowboys are, the Commanders, or the Giants. I always feel like you're going to split against your NFC rivals. So when you look at it from that perspective, okay, some of the losses, if you just take yourself away from how it went down and just say, look at it just from fresh eyes and say, look at it from this perspective, they're going to lose a couple games to their rivals. And they're always going to have a game they shouldn't have lost. They're always going to have a game maybe they shouldn't have won. And maybe they shouldn't have won that Rams game the way they did with that Jordan Davis walk-off. But the Eagles have some good wins. They have some bad losses. They're sitting here at 8-4, just like the Chargers, and they have an opportunity to go across the country to LA. We don't know what we're going to get from Justin Herbert. When you look at the Chargers quarterback, he's coming off that hand surgery this week. It was his non-throwing hand, but he's been very limited this week. He hasn't really practiced. So when you think about it from that perspective, can they get to Justin Herbert? He has not taken snaps under center this week. So when you think about it that way, maybe they can get to this quarterback. And look, they're not going to have Jalen Carter. They certainly have to apply some pressure and get after him. Has been an issue this week. And certainly it has been a big issue for this defensive line. And that's where I want to start as we bring in our first guest here on Bet Park Saturday. Let's bring in the one and only Hollis Thomas. Played 9 years with the Eagles, part of that 2004 Super Bowl team. Hollis Thomas, how's it going today?
It's going pretty good. And actually, it was 10 years.
It was 10 years?
Yes.
Oh, my facts are all wrong. Are you going to hang up on me now?
No, I'm not going to hang up on you. Before Fletcher Cox got there, I was the longest tenured D tackle.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So he flipped me. I had 10 years. Over 100 some odd games started. So that was but yeah.
All right. Well, that's a bad start to this conversation. I'm way off. I was looking at it on Pro Football Reference, unless I miscounted, and maybe I did. But
you probably did.
So
from
maybe
from 1996 to 2005. You do the math.
Well, listen, man, you had an amazing run, and you were a part of a great run for the Philadelphia Eagles. As a former player who's passionate about the game, how frustrating is it for you to watch the way this team has played? And I know the expectations are high, but when you look at this team, are you frustrated watching this team, or are you able to look at it as more of a former player than maybe a fan's perspective?
I look at it from both perspectives, and I think we seem real entitled. We only lost 2 games last year, dude, and so it's like when adversity happens, we're starting to act like we've never been through it, especially as an Eagles fan. Like we didn't start off 1-3 a couple of times in that hot run you're just talking about. I was talking to a few of my esteemed colleagues. I still do the show with Urban Fryer, Vetted, and he's just like, he's taking the fans' perspective, like the sky is falling, like we're not 84, like we don't have the ability to handle our business. We still have a good core, and we still the champions. So I mean, until somebody unseats us, or we're totally mathematically out of the playoffs or something crazy like that, it's like it don't matter when you get hot. It's like but the one thing that I do keep seeing is I want to see how the guys react to this adversity. Since last year, we didn't really have any adversity. We kicked everybody around. And so it's going to be great to see how these guys handle. They've handled us. The media. I consider myself one of you guys now. They've handled us. They've handled our criticism. They've always seemed to. The cream always rises to the top.
It does, and I look at this football team. And you mentioned something there that we made this great run last year going into the playoffs, but when you really think about it, the season did not start off great, and there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people calling for Nick Sirianni's head, and I'm like, can we just relax a second? I mean, let this season play out. Just relax,
Yeah.
and that's how I feel about this football team. And listen, we're at the point now where you're going 5 games to go. You better get it together, but.
Right.
You don't think the sky's falling for the Philadelphia Eagles?
No, I think it was I think the last game was. You know how sometimes when you're playing football, it takes you a hot second to get on, and then you get on for like we won 8 games, and then we kind of hot, but then you kind of get knocked off your perch. And once you get knocked off your perch, then you have to go back to what got you on the perch in the first place. And that and everybody needs humbling throughout a long NFL season. And I feel like the last 2 games we were humble. We can't just roll the helmet out there. We have to quit making the mistakes. We got to pay attention to detail. If you look at it, and then not only the players but the coaches as well, because in the game versus the Cowgirls, we up 21-0. Why the hell do we come back with 3 or 4 straight passes, and we're up 21-0? It's like nothing kills a defense faster than a 12 second drive that doesn't result in points by your offense. Nothing a bunch of those turns the defense. The other team is paid to play. And if you continue to give their offense opportunities to get working, it makes for what we haven't been playing complementary football. And I said it last year that we have a new offense coordinator again. Last year we had both coordinators were brand new. The by last year came at the right time because it gave the coordinators an opportunity to see what our guys did in real time and what they did well, and they came back and retooled everything, and you just had to get that one victory to get you back where you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
And I feel like, go ahead.
yeah, sorry. You talk about having the different coordinators, and Jalen Hurts kind of opened up about that this week, a few days ago, and really saying it's been the biggest challenge for him since he's been here, which is having all these different offensive coordinators. He's had 6 different play callers since coming to the Eagles, and that is not even taking into account the fact that he's had, I believe, 14 going all the way back to college at Oklahoma, Alabama,
Every year he's never had the same guy twice. And I think, and I was talking to Urban about this, it's like as a defensive player or an offensive player, you notice how as a guy is in the same system, he progressively gets a little bit better and better and better. And it's kind of like, when you first started doing what you do, you're kind of like nervous and stuff, but now you sit down and you go to work.
I'm still nervous. I'm still nervous.
No,
Look at me. I'm messing up. How many years you played for the Eagles? I'm cheating a year.
I know, but even then, though, you knew how to handle that. And then because you're in your realm, it's like it takes us at least a year in the same system to be able to know what you can and can't do, and it's like then you get a different play caller, and it's like every year you get a different play caller, so you kind of apprehensive, and he who hesitates does what? Masturbates. When you hesitate, that hesitation is because you don't know the thing. You don't know. You know it, but you don't know it. It's kind of like walking. It's second nature. Once you've been in the system and you know the play callers, that's why most of the time you see a head coach that's attached to a quarterback, and you try to keep that connection together. But it's hard when the guys that's coaching you continue getting head coaching jobs. So
but that's the part of success, right? And you know better than anybody. And again, I mean, Hurts admitted that has been a big challenge, and he's trying to work through that. It's been an issue for him. What are you seeing, Hollis, in your expertise, having played the game? What are you seeing as the biggest issue with the Philadelphia Eagles on the offensive end?
On the offensive end, the biggest thing I see is not running the ball. It's like we ran the ball against the Cowgirls. Well, actually, the last game, they ran the ball 47 times. We ran the ball 17 times. And quit throwing the ball 35. Every time we throw the ball 35 plus times, as an Eagle that I've seen, we get our rumps kicked. We take one for the team. Go look at most of the losses. It's when we get away from what we do.
Well, it's interesting. And to the point, AJ's complaining, right? AJ's complaining, you feed him the ball, and then you lose.
Yeah, but in the same right, you have to feed him the ball at the right time. It's like when we were on the run last year, we had a great mix of pass and run. They could not dictate, or not even dictate, but they could not predict what we were doing. I was like, right now they can predict what we're doing because he's got in the rut where he wants to pass all the time, and you have to run because you have to put the defense on notice, and you have to take some of that stank out the pass rush by running the ball at them to slow them down, to let them know that it's not. Because We are trying to make you fight us one-handed defensively, and our offense has been helping them out. With the last 3 games, we throw the ball. In the last 2 games, he threw the ball 37 and 36 times, and we lost both of them. And if you go back and look at any of the other losses, I can almost guarantee you it's because we tried to throw the ball too much. And so you have to run the ball to put the opposing defense on notice that the play action fake. And then we're not running RPOs. We're not coming from under center. It's like you pretty much become predictable. Everybody knows you're just about to pass. You'll be pass after.
You used a key word there. Do you believe the Eagles are predictable?
Right now they are. Right now they're all, until Kevin Patullo shows me something different. I could sit next to you and call out what he's about to run and what I would do to heat him up. There's no way we should have that. We should have the receiver core we have with the tight end and the running back we have with the offensive line, that we shouldn't be kicking people's butt up front and then having them hesitate to pass rush. You know why you hesitate to pass rush? Because somebody's going to hit it out the gate and hit their head on the goalpost. And you have to make people fear us. They don't fear us. They just want to beat us because you got to remember, everybody wants a shot at the title. And what better to put on your resume than I beat last season's champion?
Well, that's right. They're getting everybody's best shot. But I want to go back to what you just said. So when you're watching these games now, whether you're at the link, whether you're working, whether you're at home, can you spot it out right away? I mean, we used to see Tony Romo on the CBS broadcast just calling the plays out. Can you seriously spot and go exactly what the Eagles are going to run on most of their plays, just watching from home as a former player?
As a former player, I was. It's not fair to ask me that because I'm a weirdo. So I look at stances, and I can tell what the other team is running as well. But when we go out, you can tell that we're about to be pass happy. I was like, it's like you can see it. It's like, and then especially when he doesn't come from under center. You put people more on notice when you come from under center because they don't know if you're going to pass or run. If you don't, when you're standing back that deep, it's like if you run, all you can run is like the plays going sideways. That's like those. It puts you in a predictable situation. So it's like even if I do pass rush, I'm gonna be upfield enough to where I'm gonna hit the running back or make an erratic cut and go sideways because as a defender, I'd rather you be running east to west than north and south.
It's really interesting. It's so interesting you say that, and so then you go, what is the solution? I mean, A.J. Brown has been obviously frustrated, like everyone has, and Devontae Smith, I feel like, has handled it differently. For a while, Devontae Smith had way less targets and catches than A.J., and A.J. was vocal about it, and I get his frustration. But when you're the quarterback, you just want to win, and the goal is to win. And Hurts, he's been a winner, right, his whole career. And look what he did in the Super Bowl. Look that they won. Look at what he did in the Super Bowl they lost. He clearly played well enough to win that game as well. So when you're the quarterback and you have all of this talent around you, and that has been really the root of the frustration, is that this team has so much talent around them. How are they not playing better? But when you have your teammates going, man, like, I'm not getting the ball, my job depends on what Jalen does. If you're A.J. Brown, so then you start feeding them the ball, and then you're not winning games. And so
you're not winning games.
Right.
So you have
how do you balance that inside the locker room? How do you balance that?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a problem inside the locker room. Him being boisterous and stuff, it's like you want your number one. You want him to want the ball. I was like, but he has to know, and they have to have. You have to know. It's like if you're doing it properly, he can be happy. You can have it where, like last year, the last couple of years, he's been happy because we had a great balance. But if you don't have that balance, none of the stuff you're doing is going to get him open, get A.J. Brown open, and none of give him the opportunity to get that 50-50 ball downfield. And he's got to want it. It's like you just have to. It's hard to keep. It's only one ball. It's hard to keep everybody happy. So, I mean, if he's going to be that selfish, you'll find out if he's going to be that selfish when they start winning again, and he's getting not as much, but a bunch of targets. I mean, if you throw the ball 20 times, you can at least get 7 or 8 targets.
Right.
25 times. I mean, but you have to mix that stuff up. So, and then I think he's been in the league long enough to know when something's not working. And when everything is predictable, when they're jumping your routes, that's how you know it's predictable. So it's like it was cool early in the season when we were handling business, but once the NFL gets you on tape and somebody comes up with a formula to not so much stop you, but to slow you down so that they get a victory, everybody copycats. So we get it. We have to break up the monotony. Stop throwing the ball 30 plus times a game and make some runs in there, some quality runs that come from under center. And
Well,
dang, that gives you
yeah.
the RPO. The RPO, we need 70% passes on his RPOs. We hardly done that any of the season.
Well, when I look at this team, and you obviously know the sport way better than I do, when I look at defenses right now, I feel like they've been stacking the box. They're taking away the run, and they're saying, you know what, we're not going to let Saquon beat us. We're going to let Jalen Hurts beat us. And Jalen, for whatever reason, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's not, and that's obviously a big factor in all of this, whether it's the run game or the pass game. But, they haven't been 100% healthy. Lane's been out. Guys just haven't been healthy, so that causes an issue. It all starts up front. But when you look at this the way this is gelling overall, it looks as if defenses are saying, you know what, we're going to let Jalen Hurts beat us. And Hurts just hasn't been himself. He's been great in his career as a deep ball thrower, but he just seems like he's off. What are you seeing as let's say they are trying to get the run going from the defenses? Are they just taking away the run and saying, hey, Saquon's just not going to beat us?
Well, the funny part is they're doing a little bit of both. They're mixing up coverages, and you can see them trying to they're trying to stop the run with 7 because we have 2 really good receivers that you got to kind of double team them. So it's one of those things to where they dare you to run, and we're allowing them to chump us because we ran 15 or 16 times again, 17 times last week, and I want to say 18 times the week before. And both of those teams, they ran the ball, whether it worked or not. The other team was still running the ball at us, and we turned it into pass happy. One of those games, we were up 21-0, and what the hell are we still passing for? Some of it goes in the hands of the coaches. You had to have some situational awareness. Like I didn't like that Dallas game. It stung because we were up, and the fact that we came out passing. And then the last game when we scored, and then Jake Elliott missed the extra point. I was like, yes, this is one of those another humbling situation that we have to fight through. But it has to come. It has to come from the top. The guys have to have confidence in what they're doing. And if it hasn't been working, and the opposing teams have been taking stuff away, they're not going to do it with the same umph that they would if they believed in what you were doing. So it's going to have to be a lot of guys looking in the mirror and giving up everything out there and believing in what they're doing and executing. And the one, I think the main thing, last game we had 14. I think we had 7 penalties. 14.
Yeah, the penalties are killing them.
Yeah,
their own mistakes.
Yeah, and it's the pre-snap penalties.
Right.
It's like so sometimes. It's not because you can't. That's why you win as a team and you lose as a team. You can't really call anybody out because it's like when we were doing all the pre-snap penalties, a lot of those occurred on big plays, and it's like we can't even get lined up properly, or we don't know the snap count. We're jumping the snap count, and then Lane is hurt. Then you get Landon Dixon gets hurt. Then Jurgens is hurt. It's like, so you got like a pretty much musical chairs on the offensive line, and they haven't been able to build the continuity that they had last year.
I think some of this is overblown, what I'm about to say, with the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts stuff. In the last couple of weeks, it feels like Jalen Hurts is, a lot of people are pointing the finger at him, not necessarily inside the building. And, A.J. has voiced his frustrations on social media and, obviously in interviews and things like that. When you played, and when you may have had this great run with the Eagles, not everybody likes each other, right? And there's a professional relationship and a personal relationship. And obviously, you were on the team when Donovan and T.O. and all sorts of issues there internally. When you have some of that on the team, and I'm not saying it's at that point with Donovan and T.O. I don't think it's at this point.
No, it's not. It's nowhere near that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like this. It's like when you listen to, it's always speculation. Everybody's speculating. In the immortal words of one of my favorite people, people are recklessly speculating what's going on.
I
And
agree.
it's like it if you don't have anything to talk about, reckless speculation is what a lot of people do instead of talking about the truth.
But I do want
It's
to
like
ask you. But I do want to ask you, like the point I'm trying to make here is, and obviously I don't think it's at that point, but not
right,
even close to that point with AJ and Jalen the way it was with Donovan and Tio. I don't think it's anywhere
right.
close on the same planet. But what I do want to ask you is, when you do have frustrations inside the locker room where things just aren't going well, how does that affect a team? How do you think it affects a team, and how do you solve that? Where you go, okay, you have your certain friends and cliques maybe on the team, certain guys hang out, and certain people may not love another guy, and that's going to happen. You don't love everyone you work with. It's just human nature. But when you have that, how does it affect a football team, in your opinion?
It affects us negatively, and I think most of the time I've been fortunate enough to where I was in a TO situation that was laughable to me because it was just like a bunch of stuff that the powers that be, the people who were in charge, they created that situation. So it's like if you don't like, I don't see, and I think the people in charge now have learned from that situation not to create that type of situation. So I think the guys, they love each other because they honestly they hang with each other and stuff. And you don't have to hang with everybody, but you're all there to do one specific thing, and everybody knows that you're giving your all. And that's just the way it is. You can see that with this team. I don't think they're flustered or anything. I think they're just in a lull in the ebb and flow of the season where we hitting the dip. And I think a lot of people are just overreacting. It's just like, and I say overreacting, but we have to have something to talk about. We have to have something. Well, I, we was winning every game last year, and everybody always found something to bitch and moan about.
Yeah,
And
I,
it's
I
like,
agree.
and it's like I've had conversations on the radio with people like your first Super Bowl run in '17 that we played against the Denver Broncos. Remember the 50 burger we put on the Broncos?
Yep.
And I was talking to somebody I was a dude from Pro Football Weekly or something. He said that Von Miller was the best player on the field at that time of the game. I was like, how in the hell is a defensive end on a defense that just gave up 50 points the best player on the field at that time? And I was like, did you actually watch the film? And as I talk to people who don't watch the film, who have either never played or they don't know what they're watching, not even in high school or anything, and they just make a lot of stuff up. And I don't. It's hard to talk to people when they haven't watched film, and I think that's what's going down right now is they've been patted on the back, and in the words of Sean Payton and Bill Parcells, don't eat the cheese. It's like, so it's what we got in the case right now is them not really eating the cheese, but I think everybody on the outside is frustrated because I think they feel like they should see more of a sense of urgency from the team. That's what I need to see, more of a sense of urgency. I need to see the penalties come down. I need to see them give a damn. And that's why I think right now it's looking like they don't really give a damn. And it's just that's what I see a little bit of it. But I think
Why do you
they I
say
think
that?
they
Why do you say it looks like they don't care?
the part because we keep having the penalties. Our penalties have yet to go down.
And you think that comes down to a care thing?
Yeah, that's attention to detail. That's discipline. The thing between being a NFL player and a college player is discipline. And having any longevity, you have to have discipline. It's like if you constantly getting penalties and stuff, you're not gonna be the NFL is gonna stand for not for long. You constantly getting those penalties. Sooner or later, they're gonna have to go in a different direction. Because remember, it's a team sport. You paid to win, and if you're the reason why we can't get over the hump, we have to get somebody in there to help out. Just look at if you go back and look at all in the we probably lead the league in penalties. It's like we had so many penalties in that Dallas game that shot us in the foot. And I saw an interview with the Slim Reaper, and he was saying the right stuff. He said we have to execute, pay attention to details, and quit with all the stupid penalties. Now, in my opinion, the care part, it looks like you don't care to me because it keeps happening over and over again. How many times do I have to say do I have Mr. Sorry because you didn't line up on the line, or you false started,
Yeah, they have
or you
104.
did
They have
or you did
104.
false.
Just I
Yeah,
wanted to look that up. Jacksonville has the
yeah.
most. The Eagles have 104 total
Hmm.
flags. It's among the most, but it's not the most.
Yes,
But
but it's like, but when you come from what we've watched last year, we watched them do it. We watched them execute to perfection. Now we're not looking for total perfection, but damn, 100 penalties. Come on,
right,
come
right.
on.
I
At what point? It's like this, Jeff. When you're going through a season, all the penalties they should have been in the first 4 or 5 games. We shouldn't even be talking about penalties now because when you're getting started, you got to get up and you got to build up momentum and stuff, and you got to get into a groove. Once you get into the groove, the penalties should stop. The undisciplined should stop. You should be moving your feet. You shouldn't be holding. You shouldn't be on the 8 yard line and the ball goes over. It's going over your head and you go back. Now you know this when we were playing against Dallas, and whoever that was returning those kicks, and the ball was going over his head, and he went backwards. You're supposed to put your feet on the 8 yard line. If that ball goes over your head, you go up and you block the person so they can't down it. That's a tidbit of special teams information for the kid who fumbled down in the zone on the Cowboys game.
So is there enough time left, 5 games left, Chargers Monday night, that they can turn this around? Obviously, they have the talent to make a Super Bowl run. I think that's obvious.
Right.
Do you think, knowing what you know, that the Eagles can turn this around and make a Super Bowl run?
I think they will. I think they will turn it around. You'll see. You'll see this game. This is a game that we kind of need. We playing against the second or third ranked defense, and the offense. Their offense is the Chargers' offense is slightly churning, and they're gonna run the ball. They're gonna get. Harbaugh likes to get physical. So this is gonna be one of those games where we got to get just as physical as they do, and we have to. It's a get right game. You're going across country. It's a hostile situation. It's nothing better. I feel like this is just a test. This is only a test. But it's
Yeah,
like
and it is
I feel like
interesting.
we can pass it.
It, and I hope so, because I'm tired of hearing everybody complaining. I'm really tired of watching what has been, bad football the
Yeah,
last few weeks.
exactly.
And then the last few things for you, not having
Okay.
Jalen Carter. He
Oh
had that
no.
procedure on his shoulders. How much does that
Hmm.
affect the Eagles' defensive line? I mean, they don't have a lot of sacks, only 24, among the fewest in the NFL. Pressure has
Right.
been an issue. Obviously, Jordan Davis, Moro Ajomo, they're going to have to step up. They even admitted it this week. Jordan Davis saying that, he's felt the extra energy at practice this week, which
Hmm.
kind of took me back. I'm going, why are we talking about that now? That there's been some extra energy, and maybe it goes to your point about the attention to detail and looking like you
Yeah.
care. But how much are they going to need other guys to step up, and how much of a loss is not having Jalen Carter for this game against the Chargers?
Not having Jalen Carter for this game is a big loss because you know that they're gonna try to run the ball at you, and then we need that disruptive presence. But I think that this time I think we're more prepared for it than we were last time when he got ejected at the beginning of the game.
Oh yeah.
Because because he's not playing, so you're able to get the other guy that normally if you go in the game knowing that you're gonna be a backup, you're chilling. You're kind of chilling because you know you're not gonna have to go in the game for a little bit, and you have time to get ready, and you haven't taken that many reps throughout the week, so you're ready just to play your role. Now with some like okay, case in point, when I was in New Orleans, I was playing nose guard, so I was uh, uh, I was coming off of injury like the second year I was there. So he had another guy rotating, but they had him starting. He pulls his groin at the beginning of the game. Guess who's the only other nose guard that's up?
We
So
know.
I was, yeah, but it was like, but I was older, so I knew what to expect. But it's like you have those younger guys that we have the draft picks and the first and second year guys and the third year guys who've been backups who now you get an opportunity to get them ready for the game this week. Get them actually ready. It's like when the backup quarterback rarely takes any of the first team reps. And then it's like when he's thrust into the game, yeah, he's been taking mental reps. It's kind of like being in combat. You've been training for combat, but until you get in it, whoo, it's but I feel like he's gonna be ready for the challenge this week.
Well, let's hope so. And Justin Herbert, the Chargers quarterback, coming off hand surgery on his non-throwing left hand. As a former defensive tackle, when you know the opposing quarterback has some sort of injury, are you in your mind trying to poke at that injury? In this case, it's Herbert's hand. Are you trying to go after that to make that person uncomfortable?
Yeah, you always want to make the quarterback as uncomfortable as possible. You don't want him to get any type of comfortableness in the pocket. You want to move him off his spot, and it's his hand. So you swipe at the ball anyway. So you're probably going to be hacking down a lot more to try to get the ball out of his hands. You're not going to be able to hold the ball as tight with both hands. And I don't know if I would start him.
I gotta do that.
You don't know if he would start? Because Trey Lance has taken a few. He's been taking some reps, but you're saying you may hold him out if you're Jim Harbaugh.
Well, I would, because you have to look at the when you look at it, he's going to have to hold the ball like this with the other hand too. He's not going to be able to do that, and he just had surgery, and he's your franchise quarterback. I wouldn't, I understand the toughness, but yeah, let that bone heal. Let that bone heal for a little bit. But because the guys are going to be going at it, just how's he going to stop himself if somebody hit him from behind and he's going down?
Right? No, it is a great point. So last thing for you, simple question. Do you like the Eagles Monday night?
Yes, I like the Eagles Monday night. I like them winning in a hardcore affair, 27 to 17.
I like the sound of it, and hopefully the offense just gets rolling and everyone can just take a sigh of relief, a big deep breath about this football team. It's been a very, very, I feel like a rocky season, and it shouldn't feel this way because they're coming off a Super Bowl. And this team, certainly the last two games were not just losses, but ugly in the fashion that happened. So hopefully they get back in that win column. And hopefully things are easier for this football team and Jalen Hurts in the offense. Well, Hollis Thomas, Eagles legend, the one and only Hollis Thomas, defensive tackle, played on that 2004 Eagles Super Bowl team with Donovan and all those T.O. and all those characters. So we appreciate your time. Great insight. We appreciate your time, Hollis.
Anytime, Jeff. Thanks. I appreciate you.
All right. Drive safely. I see you in the car there.
Okay. I'm the passenger.
Oh, okay. All right. Look at you.
I talked a little bit. Well, the one key that I did want to mention to drop it to you is we need to run the ball just a little bit more.
And I'm sure Saquon Barkley would agree with you, along with Kevin Patullo.
Yeah, he's got to make the call.
You're right. You're right.
You know?
Well, Hollis, thank you so much for taking the time. Safe driving. Hollis Thomas, Eagles legendary defensive tackle, played a decade for the Birds. We're going to talk much more about the Philadelphia Eagles as we continue on this Bet Parks Saturday here from the Sportsbook at Parks Casino in Ben Salem. I'm Jeff Skversky, taking you to 2 o'clock here today on the PHLY Sports YouTube page. Let's talk about some UFC. Big event tonight, UFC 323. Parks Casino is going to have a viewing party hosted by the one and only UFC legend, Eddie Alvarez, who joins the program here on PHLY Sports today. Eddie, how's it going today?
It is up, brother. Good
to see you. Good to hear from you. You're going to be at Parks Casino tonight hosting a Bet Parks Sportsbook showing. You're going to watch the UFC with fans here. The UFC 323 at 10 p.m. You're going to provide some fight insights, special meet and greet, giveaways, drink specials. People can take photos with you, watch the UFC action all night long on a 150-foot video wall at the Bet Park Sportsbook. Big screens right here behind me. Tell me just, how excited are you for this UFC event tonight, and what do you expect from these matches?
So just like for every UFC event, I'm excited. But when we go to parks is special because I get to actually hang with my fans, people who've been watching me, and we get to make money together, or we get to lose together, but at least we get to play together. You know what I mean? So
You don't
I
always
let it.
win. You're not always winning, by the way.
No, not always, but last time we did this, I'm not saying we're gonna win every single bet, but last time we did this, we went 5-0, and everybody was at that ticket booth cashing money. So we're gonna try to have another sweep tonight. I'm gonna do my best to get people to make some money, but I get to hang with my fans, chill out, and then watch some fights, man. Nothing better.
Who,
Nothing better.
who do you like tonight? When you look at some of these fights, who do you like tonight? Is there one fight that stands out to you that you feel super strongly about?
Yeah, I think Terrence McKinney gets it done. I like this kid. I think he's a future UFC champion, this kid Terrence McKinney. And I think Marab does pretty much the same thing to Peter Yan. I don't think Yan's gonna find his way to be able to make an adjustment and beat a guy of this style matchup. I think this style matchup is Peter Yan's kryptonite. And I think Marab gets it done. I think Terrence McKinney gets it done. And I'm really looking forward to seeing my old training partner Edson Barboza go out there and do his thing. I think this kid Jalen Turner that he's fighting, who just came out of retirement. I never think it's good to retire and unretire. So I think just based on that alone, I think Edson gets it done as well. So we'll be doing a nice little parlay tonight at the parks, and I'll help break down the fights with the fans and let them know what I think.
I love that. We just talked to an Eagles legend, Hollis Thomas, and when you talk to ex-athletes or even current athletes, the insight that they have, I would sit and watch, a football game at Ron Jaworski, and he just sees the game, like every attention to detail. He sees where I'm looking at it just kind of from, just a wider lens, like an overall picture, but he sees every little thing, the arm motion, the footwork, the hands. When you watch fights, can you see just every little thing? Can you just see everything because you've done it at such a high level for such a long time?
Yeah, that's the fun part for me. Styles make matchups, right? So sometimes the public thinks the most popular guy, they get a hold of the most popular guy, and the books get it wrong. They get excited about the most popular guy. But when you look at certain styles, I just know from a fighting standpoint, as long as I've been doing this, certain styles just don't fit right. I don't care how popular you are. So um, and they're the kind of things I look for. That's the edge I look for when I go to the sports book. Them sort of style matchups, and the people who come to the sports book, I'll break it down, let them know why. Like I said, I don't always win. There's a large uh, degree of uncertainty in fights. People get caught, but I do my best to give people winning picks when we're at the sports book, and I put my own money on there. So I let them know I'm betting too. So if we lose, I'm losing money too. So we're doing it together.
Nice. And so I want to ask you personally, where are you at? You haven't been able to fight. I guess you had a broken jaw. Where are you at with that? And what do you think your future is?
Well, right now we opened up a performance institute in Bucks County, right with right at the NAC, the Newtown Athletic Club. I partner with Jim Worthington, and we opened up a 20,000 square foot combat. It's an arena just dedicated to combat sports. It's actually
Amazing.
incredible.
That's incredible.
When you walk in, it's like state of the art. And I'm doing that. I'm helping train the next group of people, whether it's just hobbyists, whether it's just people who want to learn a sport, or if you want to go all the way to a UFC World Championship level, we have a fight team now. And as a coach, I'm undefeated. I'm 9-0, and I'm really proud of my kids. I'm proud of everybody who fights at the Underground Kings, and I'm looking forward to building a championship team in the future.
I read this that the BKFC president David Feldman said a few weeks ago that you may have fought for the last time after breaking your jaw. Do you think that's the case, that we've seen the last of you fighting, or do you think you have still something left?
The world may never know. I never say never, man. I think retirement's for quitters.
Right. And so, but you still have it in, like you still have that, that feel to, like, I want to get back in there at some point. Do you still have that itch?
I don't think it'll ever go away. I think it's a matter of, I put myself through this for 21 years, and I've been in wars against the best guys in the world. And I don't think it's that itch will never go away from me. And it's a matter of me just being intelligent and giving my family the best of me and making sure my family gets the best of me the same way fighting did. So I walk a razor thin line between courage and stupidity. And I'm very good at it. And you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, you've been out since breaking your jaw. Obviously, that had to be very, very painful. Your pain tolerance has to be on another planet compared to, myself or, an average person. Do you remember, and you've been doing this a very, very long time, and I know this is a simplistic question. I mean, you may not even get asked this a lot, but I am curious as someone that probably deserves to get hit a few times but hasn't. What does it feel like the first time you got hit? Like, do you remember that vividly? Is that a vivid memory for you?
So I love your question. It's a great question, but the idea of a training camp, as you're preparing for a fight, the entire idea of a training camp is to remove yourself from your feelings, and be disconnected from any feeling. And you're just supposed to go in there thoughtless and fight like a dog. So I don't feel when I go in a fight. Every time, even during the camp, when my feelings are getting involved, the job is to ignore them and just continue to fight. So, um, if I'm fighting well and I'm fighting in the zone, I'm fighting at a high level. There's no thoughts and there's no feelings. It's just instincts. The entire time inside the cage should be an instinct. It shouldn't be a thought or feeling. So,
Do you remember though the first time, as a kid, just getting popped and going, whoa? Do you have that memory? Do you have that recollection from? Do you remember
I
that?
do. My first loss ever was in St. Petersburg, Russia. Actually, Vladimir Putin and Jean-Claude Van Damme were in the front row watching, and I was probably a 23-year-old kid, and I was up against a very tough veteran, and he was popping me, he was beating me, and it was the first time in my career where I was not the hammer, I was the nail, and I didn't deal with it good, and I lost. And when I look back, it was the very first fight I was actually in where I dealt with adversity, and I lost. I lost my very first fight. Up until that point, I was 9-0, but I haven't been in a real fight, and that was the first real fight I was in. It taught me a lot about myself.
Yeah, and you probably, obviously you never want to lose, and we hear this all the time. We've heard Nick Sirianni talk about with the Eagles, he's thankful for the adversity. I imagine that actually, you don't think about it probably at the time, but when you can have the perspective to look back, you probably go, hey, that was a good thing.
It'll put a chip on your shoulder. It'll give you more gratitude for winning. I think when you win so much, sometimes you lose the gratitude for winning, and you realize how much losing sucks. So it's good to build that gratitude. There's no power like gratitude, and it definitely puts a chip on your shoulder if you're a champion and you're a competitor. So that's what it did for me. I mean, in retrospect, it's great, but when it's happening to you, it fucking sucks.
I'm sure it is difficult. Well, Eddie Alvarez, UFC legend, the Philly native, you will be here tonight at Parx Casino for UFC 323. You're going to be hanging out with a viewing party, watching all the fights, hanging out with fans, taking pictures, some insights, a little gambling, you name it. Thanks for your time today on PHLY Sports.
I appreciate you, Philly. I'll see you guys out there.
All right, Eddie Alvarez, legendary UFC lightweight champ, the former UFC lightweight champ, the Underground King, Eddie Alvarez, joining us here on Bet Parx Saturday. He's going to be here again, 10 p.m. tonight, and provide fight insights, special meet and greet, giveaways, drink specials. You can get a photo with Eddie Alvarez, the UFC legend, watch all of the UFC action with him all night long, 150-foot video wall. And you can do some gambling. Eddie says last time he was here, it was winner, winner, chicken dinner, winning all night long. Hopefully he can provide that insight tonight for UFC 323. So let's get back to the Philadelphia Eagles. Do we have our next guest, Andrew? All right, we do. So We're going to get back to the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, a huge game. Monday Night Football. Eagles headed out to LA to face the Chargers. Let's bring in LA Chargers beat writer for ESPN, Chris Rim, a Philly native from Central High School. Chris, how's it going this afternoon?
Good. How you doing, man?
So I guess it's this morning where you're at, right? You're in LA?
Yeah, 9:50 a.m.
9:50 a.m. Still having your coffee, getting ready for this game. Obviously, this is a big game for both teams, both coming into 8-4. I think everybody in the world wants to know what's going on with Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. The last 2 days limited, at least on the injury report, but has he really practiced as he's coming off that left hand non-throwing, surgery on his left hand there?
Yeah. He's practiced. He's done 7-on-7. He's done 11-on-11. He's taking snaps, not under center, but out of the shotgun and the pistol. I say this about Justin. He's played with fractured ribs. He's played with 2 high ankle sprains. He's playing on Monday. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like I don't. There's no doubt in my mind that he's gonna play on Monday unless something crazy happens before then. It's just about getting comfortable and what the offense will look like. I don't have any doubt that he's gonna play though.
Does it matter, you think, for the Chargers in this game if he doesn't take any snaps under center? I mean, he's been doing it long enough, and we hear this all the time. We saw it in the Lions game against the Cowboys. Amon-Ra St. Brown, really didn't practice and, dealing with his injury. But these guys are veterans. Do you think Justin really needs to be full strength practicing under center to be able to play in this game?
No, I think he'll be all right. 2 years ago, Justin fractured the middle finger, I believe, on his non-throwing hand. And so I would say, I think around 2 games they played, he didn't take any snaps under center. So this would be a return to that situation. I do think, though, this time, different from last time, the Chargers have talked about employing Trey Lance in goal line and short yardage scenarios if they need to do something under center. They didn't feel comfortable doing that last game because they didn't feel like he had enough reps with the first teamers. But I think they'll be fine. You saw not the second half, but from the second quarter on in that Raiders game, they ran the pistol and shotgun, and it was fine. So, but obviously that's the Raiders and not the Eagles. So we'll see how it goes.
Do we know with Justin where the swelling is? I know earlier this week he talked about that was kind of his big focus, is finding a way to get the swelling down. And I noticed during his press conference, he had his left hand, his non-throwing left hand that had the surgery on. It was in his hoodie. Do we know where the swelling is? And obviously he has, a threshold for pain tolerance, but do we know where he is at just physically, from a physical standpoint?
No, we have no clue. He's super secretive about it. He hides his hand. If we're in the locker room, he tries to go elsewhere, hides out somewhere so we can't see it. And then he wears a cast. And as you saw, walks into the press conference with it tucked in his pocket, even though I think he had a cast over it at the time. So I'm not sure where he's at with swelling, but that's, like you said, he said that's the biggest thing right now is getting that swelling down.
Yeah, obviously he is a very talented quarterback. And how much of an effect do you think with that hand injury, assuming he plays? He's talked about it really since he got hurt in their last game. He's talked about it. My plan's to play. And Harbaugh's kind of in we'll see. But, in the last few days, it's like, hey, the plan is for Justin to play. How much of an impact do you think that'll be, for him in that discomfort in the non-throwing hand in this game?
Yeah, I will say it is weird how open they've been about Justin playing. They never do this. They never share. They're super cautious about injury news. They never give us updates. But this week, Jim is optimistic and preparing for Justin to play. And Greg Roman, Justin's going to play. Justin saying he's preparing to play. So unless it's the craziest smokescreen of all time, they were never concerned about him playing. I think again the biggest thing that you'll see from Justin is he's not only the under center situation for him, but he's been running a lot this year, like running more than he ever has in his entire career. He injured his hand on a run, and I think against the Eagles, if he does run, you'll see him try to protect himself more and slide earlier. This season, he's all his career when he runs, he's looking to deliver a blow at the end, like he's looking to run somebody over or truck to gain more yards, which is why he's played through so many injuries. I would expect the running aspect of Justin to be a bit compromised in terms of how he ends his runs and how many yards he gains.
Yeah, it's interesting how, the chess match of this Monday Night Football game plays out when you're dealing with an injury, especially at the quarterback position. And the Eagles defense, if they can get themselves and put a hit on that hand some way, somehow, just to make him uncomfortable, not saying they're trying to injure the guy, but anything you can do to make Justin uncomfortable in the pocket, outside the pocket. But I think you'd be a fool not to say, okay, the Eagles are going to try to find a way to, maybe get a helmet on that hand or and hit that hand.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, the Raiders were doing it in the game. There's one play where, a player ran by and smacked Justin on the hand and he took his hand away. So they're definitely going to try to take advantage. NFL stuff, like you said, they're not trying to necessarily injure him, but if you go out there and put yourself and play, like guys are gonna do what they feel like they need to do. So yeah, I would expect that for sure.
In this game, what is the biggest matchup you are going to have your eyes on and people should look out for in this matchup?
I think I'm eager to see Cooper DeJean and Lad McConkey. I think I was excited already, and then Greg Roman said something yesterday about how he likes Lad versus anybody, and how he expects Vic Fangio to switch it up, and they're not going to be one on one all the time. But Lad's a slot guy, Cooper's Soup's a slot guy, so I think that'll be a cool matchup to see. And then beyond that, you know not so much on the field, but Greg Roman, Jim Harbaugh, and Vic all work together in San Francisco. So now Greg will go up against Vic, and Jim will go up against Vic. So I think that'll be a little cool to see too. Just not the players, but coach wise.
Yeah, and I did want to ask you about that. And listen, Jim Harbaugh was talking about it this week, and that Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio and him go way back. Is there an advantage there as far as when you talk about the chess match? And there's so many of these storylines every week with different coaches or players have played on this team or that team. And, it is a small league when you really just think about it. But who do you think wins a chess match there when you think about Jim Harbaugh and his relationship with Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio? They obviously have a great rapport. And I know Jim this week talked about just how much he thinks the world of Vic Fangio.
Yeah, yeah. I think the because of the familiarity with each other, they have to have a sense of their tendencies. Like what I think in large part, like probably the foundation of the things that they believe in and what they're going to do in certain scenarios. Obviously, things change over the course of, a decade. I think it's been since they were in San Francisco. But at the end of the day, Jim and Greg are the same types of coordinators, right? Like things change, but the same types of coaches. And I think Vic is also the same way. So I think they will know each other's tendencies, and it'll be cool how they respond to that in certain down and distances, like maybe what Jim likes to have on 3rd and 3, or what a look Vic has liked to do his whole career, maybe in certain scenarios. So that chess match will be cool to see between Roman and Vic Fangio.
We were talking with former Eagles defensive tackle Hollis Thomas at the start of the show, and he was saying how the Eagles have been predictable on offense, and he can call things out immediately. And he wants to see an Eagles team this week that looks like they care more. When you look at this matchup and you talk about the Chargers defense, they're among the best in the NFL. How problematic do you think this is for the Eagles offense when you look at the Chargers D and just how well they've played?
Well, I think the thing with the Chargers defense is that under Jesse Minter, they've really taken advantage of bad quarterbacks. So they really beat up on off not great offenses. When they face good to great offenses, it usually isn't great. Like they usually get a lot of the times they get gashed. Not always, but I mean, a good coordinator in Jacksonville, Liam Cohen, who was the coordinator of the Bucks the year before, he's put up 36, and this year he put up 40. When they've played other teams outside of the division, similar things have happened. So I think the Eagles have an opportunity here. I think against this Chargers defense, but I'd also say like since the bye week, the first team they played was the Raiders. But in that against the Raiders, they showed a bunch of different looks, a bunch of different defensive fronts. And I think you'll see a different Chargers defense against the Eagles, one that maybe is better suited to face an offense like Phillies in ways that they weren't before the bye week.
That's an interesting perspective. When you think about, you say they've taken advantage of bad quarterbacks. You're from Philadelphia, like the fan base here. If you just listen and haven't really watched the games or just know the history of the Eagles the last few seasons, you would think this team is 1-10, and just how harsh things are in Philadelphia. Who do you think needs this game more, the Eagles or the Chargers?
That's a great question. That is a great question because it's something that I've been thinking about all week. I think Philly needs it more because the Chargers aren't really supposed to win this game, right? You know what I mean? Like I think most of the country probably expects the Eagles to win, and they expect Philly to be a contender. Like if the Chargers lose this game, it would be like okay. Like if the Eagles lose this game, it's like oh this season is like this is really sputtering out of control. Like this season, is gone. That would be three straight for Philly if they lose on Monday, correct?
Yeah, and it would be ugly. I mean, when you go back a couple weeks ago, they blew a 21-point lead to the Cowboys. Okay, so the Cowboys scored 24 straight points. That was horrible. Now, okay, you may lose to the Cowboys, fine, but in the fashion they did. Then on a short week, on Black Friday, they just got, in my opinion, embarrassed by the Bears. And the Bears are a good football team under Ben Johnson, what he's done out there with Caleb Williams and that team. But it's just been a very, very ugly 9-10 day span with the Eagles, and people are frustrated because the offense has not looked really up to par, and they've just really been, the way they're winning games, people just aren't happy. And listen, you're from here, how this fan base is. At the same time, they have all the talent in the world. They're clearly on paper a Super Bowl team, but they just haven't performed that way.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think they need this win probably a little bit more than the Chargers for all the reasons you just brought up in that before, right? But this is a game that the Chargers need too. I mean, they're chasing the division, they're chasing a playoff spot. They could very well miss the playoffs. They got a tough stretch coming up with Philly, Kansas City, Houston, Dallas, and Denver. So we'll see. It's a big game for both teams, man.
All right, final question for you. Chris Rim from ESPN covers the Chargers, does a great job on ESPN.com covering the Chargers. Give me a prediction. Eagles 2.5-point favorites. Who do you like in this game?
I'm going to go Eagles 24, Chargers 17.
All right, so you're going with the Eagles, picking the Eagles 24 points. That sounds like the way the last few weeks have gone, that sounds like 400 points, the way things have gone for this Philadelphia Eagles team. The last couple weeks struggling with the offense. So, all right, well, Chris Rim does a great job covering the Chargers for ESPN.com. We appreciate the time here on Bet Park Saturday here on PHLY Sports. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Jeff.
Great talking to Chris Rim. Some great insight there. The Philadelphia native and Central High School grad. Of course, Bet Park Saturdays here at the Sportsbook at Parks Casino in Ben Salem. And you can give the gift of entertainment this holiday season. Tickets to see national headliners right here at the Excite Center at Parks Casino. They make a great gift for this holiday season. Something to offer for everyone. Entertainment, including tonight, an evening with Ken Jeong. Of course, he's in those amazing Hangover movies. He'll be here tonight at Parks Casino. Just around the same time, he's finished. Eddie Alvarez will be here, but Ken Jeong, the comedian, actor, producer, best known for his breakout roles in the Hangover films and the hit TV series Community, a former physician. Remember, he's a former doctor, right? You would never know. Turned Hollywood star. He's known for his quick wit, outrageous humor, scene-stealing performances, whether on the screen or on the stage. Some high-level comedy coming tonight here at the Parks Casino, and you can go get tickets. If you're interested, parkscasino.com/entertainment to buy tickets. Of course, you must be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we've talked about a lot so far on the show. We've talked to Hollis Thomas about the Birds. We've talked to Eddie Alvarez about his UFC future. Perhaps he's not calling it quits just yet at 41 years old. And we just talked to Chris Rim a little bit more on the Chargers angle as we're going to see how things are going to play out Monday night. Let's go to, do we have Brad Feinberg? We do, the one and only Brad Feinberg, our betting expert. Andrew Frazier, our producer, patching him in. Let's bring in Brad Feinberg, our pro sports betting analyst. A great follow on Twitter at Brad's Best Bets. Hey, Brad, how's it going?
Great to see you, buddy. Everything's going well. I'm actually have a little bit of a guys' weekend. Some of my college friends, Jeff, we meet this week every single year. College football play like the weekend of the championship weekend. So just watching sports with some of my college friends, it doesn't get much better than that.
That's fantastic. Eagles 2.5-point favorites to beat the LA Chargers on the road. Do you like the Eagles in this matchup? And where do you think this one plays out when you talk about the gambling aspect of it?
You know, it's interesting, Jeff. This line was 3, got 2.5. Here's the thing, Jeff. I really was going to like the Eagles side for sure, but I really do think the Jalen Carter injury is a real thing. Like I think honestly, I think he may be their best player. I think that's a really big loss. And I wish they had, for a team like, Harbaugh, as much as Herbert is the franchise player on that team, Hampton may be back. Vidal's been doing pretty well running the ball. I just feel like that guy in the middle of the defense to slow that down would have been a huge thing. That being said, I don't think the Chargers are a very talented team outside of Herbert. I really don't. I think they're very okay, and they just ride the shoulders of an incredible player in Herbert. This is a game the Eagles should win, in my opinion. Chargers have no home field advantage at all, Jeff. As you know, none, zero, zilch. I said it before, Jeff. I'll say it again. I think this is the biggest game of the season for the Eagles because if they lose this game, you're going to hear back from 2 years ago when they lost those 5 games at the end of the year, and it's going to start to becoming, in my opinion, just potentially a toxic situation, which sounds crazy for defending Super Bowl champ. I think it's the biggest game of the year, but I think they find a way to get it done. You?
Yeah, listen, I'm with you, and I think it would be a nightmare if they lost this game because you have an opportunity right now to put the Dallas Cowboys away. We talked about it at the start of the show at noon, which is if the Eagles win this game, they're 2.5 up on the Dallas Cowboys. And I know in football, we're talking more of the way you talk about baseball, but if you lose this game, you look at the entire NFC picture, but with the NFC East, the Eagles then only have a 1.5 game lead on the Dallas Cowboys, and you're really letting them hang around right now. I mean, look, the Eagles have a 95% shot at making the playoffs. It's all but a lock. And so, yeah, I think this is a must-win for multiple reasons. When you talk about having 5 games to go here, must win all the way, not only for confidence, but really for the future of this football team. I mean, if they were to have a massive meltdown, and look, this schedule's not so easy. I mean, you have the Chargers, the Raiders, 2 games against the Commanders, and I don't care what you say about the Commanders, the way things have gone for them. NFC East games are tough, and then you have a game against the Bills. I mean, the Eagles, I could see going 2-3. I could see also going 4-1. So, this is a must-win. To your point, they have to win this game. They need this game. What is the line telling you about this game?
Well, Jeff, again, but more so even from, I see what you're saying about the Dallas thing, but for me, Jeff, and I usually try not to get into the psychology of stuff. It's not my thing, but I really do think there's something to be said for the fact they've lost 2 in a row. It was 2 years ago. They had that horrible streak at the end of the year. I remember in a must-win game against the Giants for the #1 seed, they lose by 40 points to a 3-14 Giants team. And it's just the way the season just went, it was just, you kind of knew they were on that downward trend. I feel like they can right this ship here. It's like, okay, listen, we cleaned up the mess, but if they don't, look, the line's telling me, Jeff, here's the thing. It's very rare, Jeff, to get a game off of 3 is hard to do. Like you can move a game from 5 to 6 or from, 12 to 13 or, 4 to 5, much easier, 1 to 2 than going from 3 to 2.5. That's a significant move. It takes a lot of money to get a game off of 3. So there is some sharp money that has certainly come in on the Chargers, despite the fact that their quarterback had a hand surgery. And, look, you never know how someone's going to react to that or not. But look, again, the look ahead line for this game was 3, the Eagles laying heavy juice. Combination, I think, of just the Eagles playing so poorly against Chicago. The money's come in against them. And I understand why. I mean, they're kind of look, they're going to make the Eagles prove that this is not 2024, repeating, or was it 2000? I'm getting years confused, right? 2023, the year that they lost those 5 games in a row at the end of the year, Jeff. So, um, sharp money has come in on the Chargers.
Really? So, how would you bet this game? I mean, is it, I look at this game and I see the Eagles struggling, and I want to say, okay, they're going to bounce out of this, and this is going to be their week. And when I look at this, just the way it is, I mean, I would pick the Eagles, right? Like, when you look at the Eagles right now, as I look at this Bet Park sheet, that the Eagles have a 2.5 point favorites. Am I going, hey, the Eagles are going to win by a touchdown easily?
Well, no, Jeff, look, I don't think anything in this game is going to be easy at all. Like, I think this game's going to be close either way. I've said it a few times, said it in the Green Bay game, I think it'll go down to the last play. I said with you during the Dallas game, I think it'll go down to the last play. This is a game I think very easily could go down to the last play again. I will be surprised if either team gets margin here. Look, I'll be honest. Like, you wanted to tease the Chargers from 2.5 to 8.5. I don't think that's a bad bet, because I don't think the Eagles win this game by margin, Jeff. I really don't. I think they'll have a very decent chance to win the game by 3 or more, but to win by probably double digits, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Chargers are good enough to keep this game competitive. I think this game is going to be close. I keep thinking, Jeff, and it hasn't happened yet. I keep thinking that when I watch the Eagles have success, I think Jalen's running ability is a part of that. And I feel like in the games they don't have success is when he doesn't run much. And I'd like to see him get involved running the ball, because it's like interesting, Jeff, when you take away his running ability, is he really that great of a player? Like, I think that's what makes him unique and good. And the guy who won the Super Bowls is that he does have the ability to run and be a two-way player and do dynamic things. And when they just try to use him as a pure pocket passer, so to speak, he's below average. So I don't know why they don't make that a bigger part of it. And just my 2 cents.
And that is a great point. And, Jalen, there was a report that came out this week about, Jalen didn't want to run as much this year. And certainly
McNabb used to say the same thing. I hated that.
Yeah,
that's what makes you good.
Well, the numbers are certainly down statistically. But to me, it's twofold. I mean, for years, it's like, okay, Carson's running too much, or Michael Vick's running too much, or Donovan's running too much, or early on, Jalen's running too much. You can't have it both ways. And so early on with Jalen, a lot of people thought his first couple of years, when he was winning, and he did lead the Eagles to the Super Bowl when they lost to the Chiefs the first time, he's running too much. And you can't have it both ways. And so that's the one thing that annoys me, that I go, everybody just keeps going, okay, they're not winning, they're not doing well, he needs to run more. Well, okay, let's say he does run more, and it leads to an injury, and he gets hurt. And so that's been the big thing over the years, where a quarterback, if he's running too much, it's going to lead to injury. Jalen has done an amazing job of not only winning, but making himself get out of harm's way and stay healthy for the most part. He had the concussion, against the Commanders. What was that, last year? But
last year, yeah.
But for the most part, Jalen Hurts has been available, and he has played. And you look at that, it wasn't the case with Carson Wentz. And look, football's a violent sport, and I hate saying somebody's injury prone or anything like that. Sometimes things just happen, but you can't have it both ways. And we talked to Hollis Thomas at the start of the show today, the former Eagles defensive tackle, and he's like, yeah, absolutely, you have to get the running game going, more so with Saquon Barkley, but as a whole, defenses are taking away the run from Saquon and the Eagles, and they are saying, I think, let Jalen beat us. But Jalen, in my opinion, Nick Sirianni has said it. I've talked to Wilbert Montgomery, the Eagles legend, others, Jeremiah Trotter. A lot of people have said Jalen Hurts has one of the best deep balls in football, and a lot of people don't give him enough credit for that. But this year, it's just been off. And yes, they have to get the running game going. So you think it's going to be a tight game? So picking the Eagles is not a lock in this game at 2.5.
No. Jeff, they're about $1.40 favorite or so. No, that's saying they play the game 12 times, they go 7-5. But it's interesting, Jeff. One of the things I like to do in life to let me know if something's good or bad. If you were rooting against the Eagles, you're their opponent, and I said to you, do you want Jalen Hurts running the ball if he has the chance to run it? I'm 99% positive you're going to say, no, I don't want him running the ball. I let him throw the ball. I don't want him running, which lets you know him running the ball is something that would be a positive for the Eagles, because your opponent would not want to see him running the ball because he's such a dynamic, great runner. He's tough. He's strong. He makes plays. again, to me, and I remember it used to drive me nuts with McNabb. He's like, I'm not a running quarterback. The heck you weren't. That's the reason you had a borderline Hall of Fame career. If you didn't have that, I'm not going to say you'd be out of the league, but you probably wouldn't have even been a starting player. So like, I don't like when people, it's not a perceived slight saying that he's a good runner. That's a compliment. Josh Allen's a good runner. Lamar Jackson's a good runner. Drake May's a good runner. Why is it a negative to Jalen Hurts saying, oh, scrambling is part of your game? I know some quarterbacks are sensitive about that. They don't like to be called a running quarterback, but I would embrace it because to me, that's the reason he's getting paid $50 million a year. Trust me, if he didn't have that athleticism, he would not be making $50 million a year because he's certainly not that kind of pocket passer, which
Do you think that the odds makers are questioning Jalen Hurts' recent consistency? This time when you look at things, the way it matches up against the Chargers, when you look at the way this game is laid out?
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, listen, again, I think what happened was, again, 2 years ago, the odds makers were so slow to pick up on sort of this fact that the Eagles offense was not playing well and they faltered horribly and defensively that year down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, look, you're seeing, I think we're finally going to start to see the Eagles are going to get less and less respect in the line because there gets to be a point I always, Jeff, I give the comparison with Aaron Nola to you last week. I'm like, yeah, Aaron Nola's had a great career, but when you have 15 straight bad starts, kind of eventually you may say, you know what? Maybe this is not the Aaron Nola of years past. To me, the Eagles' offense has been Aaron Nola. That's the exact. I mean, you want to keep thinking it's good. You want it. You want so badly to think it's good. Like, how can it not be good? Barkley's good. Devonta Smith's good. AJ Brown's good. Jalen Hurts is good. Dallas Goedert's good. How can it not be good? But the bottom line is, Jeff, it hasn't been good. Outside of that first half against Dallas, and they had that little run against the Rams at the end. God, excuse me. What good performances has this offense had? So
Yeah,
I mean, at some point it has to improve.
You're the betting gambling expert. I look at it like this. If you've lost 14 in a row, I look at it like this, right? It's keeping it simple. If I lost 14 straight hands of blackjack,
yeah,
I feel like then I'm due, and I feel like I'm owed. I'm owed to go on a great run. That's just my mentality, and I think that maybe that's human nature. I don't know. You may know better than I do, but you mentioned something. I thought it was interesting there that are the odds makers not giving the Eagles enough respect, or are they taking into account just their recent struggles?
Well, it's interesting. It's funny. You just said, without even meaning to do it, I wish we knew each other better because without even meaning to do it, you just said the one thing in life that's like one of my favorite things to say in life. You said you're due. It's Jeff. And I love you. You're a super smart guy. So please don't.
I'm not.
Anything other
No,
than that.
I'm not.
But
no,
no one is ever due anything. Like in gambling, you go. I've watched. I used to remember. I'll tell a quick little story. I used to go away to a trip every year with my guys where we go March Madness. And one of my good friends, he'd wait. True story. He'd wait until there was 12 straight. Sick. He would literally wait till there was 12 straight spins where it came up black or red. He'd wait there in front of a roulette table for 20 hours if need be. And he needed 12 times for it to be red or black in a row. And once that happened, he would then start bending the opposite side, saying the other side is due. And I watched him. I never forget it. I watched him have like $3,500 betting like, all right, I'm going to bet 100, then I'll do 2, then 4, then 8, then 16. And he lost 5 straight spins. So sure enough, 17 straight times it came up red. And he bet black the last 5 times. The machine, the roulette wheel does not know, oh, it's due to come up black.
And so I don't play roulette, but I just remember when I used to play blackjack, in those terms, okay, maybe you're due. And when you talk about football, and when you talk about this Eagles team with all the talent, and we're trying to bring it back to this, which is this team is due to go on a great run offensively. When you look at the talent around, there's too much talent here for this team to be playing this way. So are the odds makers giving the Eagles enough credit, or do you think it's a little bit of a,
Jeff, if anything, look, again, I respectfully disagree. I don't think they're due for anything. Again, they keep showing us week in, week in, week in, week after week that they cannot move the ball. They cannot score, that they look atrocious every week offensively. I don't think they're due for anything. I think, if anything, Jeff, I'll be honest with you, I think people think what you think. that they are due. And it's showing in the line. They're still getting respect. Look, against the Bears, who, listen, I don't love the Bears at all. In fact, I like the Eagles against the Bears. I was dead wrong. But against the Bears with the number one seed, the Eagles were laying a touchdown against the number one seeded team. So they were saying that, yes, the Eagles were due to finally have a good game. And every week we see this offense struggle. And to me, it's like, not only do I not think they're due, I think it's the opposite. I think they keep telling you who they are. They keep showing week after week, this is not the same offense as last year. It's not the same play calling. It's just everything is different. And yet, when the name jerseys are the same, Jeff, I actually think the odds makers, in my honest opinion, are still a little bit slow in realizing that this is not the Super Bowl winning team of last year. And this is not the Saquon Barkley. I've bet his unders so many weeks. I've cashed so many tickets on Saquon Barkley unders, Jeff, because they're still pricing him the Saquon Barkley of last year. Guess what? He's not. Whether it's his fault or someone else's fault, I'm not going to diagnose that. But the bottom line is he's not getting 120 yards a game like he was last year.
That is certainly the case, and obviously getting them back to running the ball is crucial here when you think about this football team. So you think it's going to be a tight game. What about the over-under? So if you look at the over-under in this game, it's 41.
Very low. And it's funny. But Jeff, again, that is telling you what they think of this Eagles offense. 41.
That's a great point.
How many games do you see in a warm weather city, or where it's not going to be, or controlled climate, where the total is 41 in today's NFL?
So you would go? Would you? So if you're putting money on this game, would you go the under or the over with 41?
I mean, I made the total. I make a total for every game. I made the total 41 and a half. I thought it'd be 41 and a half. It came in at 41, but 41 is actually a key number.
Why?
Again, not something I'm betting, because again, the Chargers to me, very limited on offense outside of the quarterback. Again, I think the Chargers are, outside of the coach and the quarterback, I don't really love many players on that team. I think McConkey's a decent receiver, but I just think that Herbert doesn't have a ton of weapons. And defensively, I think, they're okay. This is a game that the Eagles, in my opinion, Jeff, should be able to have some success on the offense side of the ball. But as I keep saying, like, week in and week out, like, you keep getting conked in your head thinking the same thing. Okay, this is the week. This is the week. If like if your spouse cheats on you every single day, and you're like,
oh, whoa, what are we talking about here?
No, not yours.
How did we get there?
No. I'm just saying, at some point you have to say, this is my reality. And that's just my opinion. I'm not trying to be over about talking about the Eagles at all. I'm an Eagles fan, but I think that to expect this offense just to snap your fingers and poof, we're going to be last year's Eagles, I think it's very naive thinking.
We talked about this earlier, is that the Eagles are working at it, right? Jalen Hurts says he's gone back years trying to figure out, what worked here, what worked there. And I did find this candid and interesting from Hurts this week, saying that, it has been the biggest challenge since she's been on the Eagles, 6 play callers in 6 years. And I do have to say, like, if you just take a step back and just go, imagine having, 6 different bosses who all want different things, who all do things a little bit differently. That is a big challenge. And I gotta say, if you just take a step back and say, I get it. And he admitted that's a big challenge for Jalen Hurts, and so I understand.
Jeff, let me ask you a question, and I'm just curious about this. And I said that last week, and again, I know it was a different situation because maybe the Bears weren't prevent, but when the Eagles at the end had to score, they go down and score a touchdown right away. When they had to score in a hurry-up offense, I've been saying it. Why not try something different as opposed to just saying, okay, like, for example, like, I remember the basketball player DeAndre Jordan. He was a 30% free throw shooter. He changed his entire everything, and he became a 70% free throw shooter. Not Rick Barry, not Steph Curry, but you know what? Going from 30 to 70, he changed something, and it's a pretty big improvement. Why not say, you know what? Let's maybe try to do tempo on offense. Maybe see how Jalen does, how the team does. Let's just at least do something different as opposed to just saying it's just going to change. It's just going to change. I know it's going to change. I don't know it's going to change at all. But what I do know is I'm seeing the same thing week in, week out. I don't see adjustments, Jeff. I don't see much that's really like that's not changing things up. My opinion is they need to change the stuff up more. And maybe, I don't know what they're doing or not doing with Jalen, but I'd say, Jalen, what do you want to do? What makes you feel most comfortable? What makes you feel like, all right, man, I got this? What plays do you like? Maybe they're doing it and it's just not working. Or maybe they're just trying to do stuff that the coordinator thinks he wants to install.
I think
It's
they
really
are
not
doing
in
it.
Jalen's wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think they are doing it. And Jalen talked about it this week, too, again, that he's had a lot of conversations with Nick Sirianni on how everybody wants it to look. And look, you can go into it with the greatest plan ever, and it may just not work. And you may get shown different defenses. And I always do say you have 2.5 seconds as a quarterback to make a decision if you're lucky with 5, 6, or 7 300-pound guys trying to take your head off. It is the hardest position in professional sports to play. The guy's not the tallest guy in the world, and he may not be the best quarterback in the world, but he's a heck of a quarterback. He's won you a Super Bowl. He's played well enough to win you 2 Super Bowls.
Absolutely.
He's young in his career, and how many other quarterbacks would you rather have? And oh, by the way, more importantly than that, how many other quarterbacks can you get? So, would you rather have Jalen Hurts than the Carson Wentz? Of course, right? And so, it's hard. It's hard to find a quarterback. It's hard to develop them. And obviously, when you win a Super Bowl, everybody's going to give you their best that following season. And so every week, your opposition, hey, that's their Super Bowl within the regular season.
All right, Jeff, you asked a question, Jeff, and actually, if you don't mind, I'd actually like to answer the question. In terms of, like, you asked how many quarterbacks would rather have them. I never thought about this until you just asked it. What is your guess? I'm going to do this exercise with you. You're going to say agree, disagree. How many quarterbacks, without thinking about it, don't look at anything, where do you think Jalen ranks? Right now, just make a guess in your head. Just spit it out.
When you say right now, you mean right this second, or you mean just overall?
Who would you rather have going forward, just this year, next year, a career? A career.
I don't know. Maybe a handful.
Okay, let me just say, is your handful 5? Is it 8? Is it 4? What's a handful?
I don't know, 5.
Okay, I'm going to say I have at least 10. All
okay.
Ready? Drake May. Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Josh Allen.
Yes.
Justin Herbert.
Maybe.
Mahomes, you'll give me?
Yeah, of course.
Lamar?
I think he has more talent, but he just those guys haven't won, right? Like you can't forget about guys winning, and so like raw talent, yeah, Lamar Jackson has more raw talent, I think, than Jalen, but that may be a push if you want a casino term, a push.
Joe Burrow?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Dak Prescott?
No, but Dak's been playing unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Dak's better. But Matt Stafford?
Well, he's close to retiring, so.
Oh, right. I just meant for this year.
Okay. So, like, if we're playing like a video game, then yeah, he's been better.
Baker?
No.
Okay. All right. I guess our difference is, I guess a lot of these, like, maybe close calls using him, and I get it. He's done it through the last 3 years. He's got the Super Bowl, but I don't know. I maybe I'm being a little too harsh on him, and you're giving him a lot of his due. I wish I get for 2 of the last 3 years being the Super Bowl, being the best player on the field in this 2 Super Bowls on top of it. But I just don't know if he's, to me, much. I like some of those other guys a little better than him today, but I don't know. And guys do regret. Look, Carson Wentz, by the way, Jeff. Obviously was injuries, a lot of reasons, but he was borderline MVP, right? And then he just wasn't, as time went on, wasn't as good. I'm not saying that's going to be Jalen Hurts at all, but I am saying I don't think you could say it's an impossibility, because I think you would agree with me on this, Jeff. This has been the worst year he's had. I mean, I think at least in terms of his overall effectiveness, at least in my opinion, at least since he's, in this last 3-4 years where he's been a magnificent player, I don't feel like this year he's played magnificently, just in my opinion.
And I think that is an amazing opinion, and that hits the nail on the head. And I agree with you. He hasn't had his best season. He hasn't been at his best. And like I said, that candidness this week saying that that's been his biggest challenge as a Philadelphia Eagle.
Sure.
All the changes, and I think that does have an effect. All right, we're talking to Brad Feinberg, sporting sports betting expert here on Bet Park Saturday. So you look around the league, what are some other key matchups you're looking at, and some other locks for all the bettors out there?
Well, first of all, Jeff, no such thing as a lock, my friend. Always remember that.
Talking
no
about
such thing as a lock at all.
your money every week.
There actually was. You know, it's funny you said actually there was a lock. That actually, if you had the news, there was a receiver. Oh my God, I'm spacing this. Tom Kennedy of the Lions. They had his over under at 27.5, and then with St. Brown out. And then when St. Brown got announced in, you had about a 5-minute window to bet Kennedy's unders at 27.5, closed at 4.5. That was pretty close to a lock because he wasn't going to play once St. Brown came. He only played 4 snaps. But anyway, Colts Jaguars.
He's an amazing story, by the way. That is an absolutely amazing story. Some chaos going on behind me here at Bet Parks at the Sportsbook. Lots of commotion.
There you go.
They probably want to bet, Brad, that you picked. So
exactly.
give me some things that are standing out this week. One of the things to me that I saw was the Packers-Bears game.
That's my favorite game.
The Bears 6.5 favorites.
No, dog. Jeff,
no, dog.
6.5
Excuse me.
point
Okay,
dog.
that game's
But
interesting to me.
Jeff, my biggest bet of the week was that game, and I bet the Bears under 20.5 team total. It's still now 18.5, but that's fine. I still love you at 18.5. I laid a little extra juice at 20.5. This is the week, and we come back next week, Jeff. I want you to be like, Brad, that was a really good call by you, Brad. Man, you got that one so freaking wrong. Because I'll take it. I'll eat the humble pie, gladly so. I really think this is the week we see Caleb Williams and this Bears offense blank the bed. I do not think they're going to have any success at all against Green Bay. I think they would not shock me if they score single digits under 20.5. I feel I'm not going to call it a lock, but I will be very, 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 very surprised if this Bears offense can score 21 against the Packers defense, and in my opinion, is at the top of the food chain, Jeff. I think the Packers win this one. I think they win it by margin. Line's high. Again, I prefer the under 18.5 or 20.5, which one you get, versus the game, because I can see the Packers also maybe only scoring 20, 17. It wouldn't shock me because their offense is a little erratic, but their defense, they're going to shut the Bears down, Jeff. That's my best bet of the week.
Any other ones that stand out to you?
I think, Jeff, the total in the Colts-Jaguars game is a little high. It's sitting at like 47.5. Look, the Colts, we saw the first 7 weeks, Jeff. They led the league
40,
points.
right now it's at 47.
Okay. We saw that, Daniel Jones was playing incredible. But a part of, again, kind of like what I said about, it's interesting, Jeff, what I said about Jalen Hurts. What made Jalen Hurts so good? One of the things that made him so good was his mobility. What made Daniel Jones in that offense so good at the beginning was Daniel Jones was running a lot, and that was a big part of their offense. Now he hurt his fibula, and he can't move. The Colts can't win a game. And again, to me, this offense isn't what it was. If you take away his mobility, never trust Trevor Lawrence. Jaguars defense playing well. I thought the total should have been closer to 44, quite frankly, Jeff. I like the under in that game.
All right, Brad Feinberg, our sports betting expert here on Bet Park Saturday, live from the Sportsbook at Parks Casino in Ben Salem. Great insight, Brad. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Jeff, I always love talking to you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much.
You too. Great seeing you. Absolutely.
Good guys.
Interesting there as he gives us some insight on the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Chargers. Eagles 2.5-point favorites and 41 over under. The way the Eagles have been playing, you'd like to think that that's going to come in under. I figure that, hey, the Eagles are absolutely due. Well, of course, a big sports weekend, including that Monday Night Football game in LA, Eagles, Chargers. And if you can't make it down to Parks Casino in Ben Salem, there's another way to win on the Bet Parks app. That is the live bet. You can catch all the weekend sports. It makes watching the game that much more fun. Live betting is much better on the Bet Parks app. Get some skin in the game. The Bet Parks app is the Philly sports fans' choice to bet on sports and to play classic casino games as well, like blackjack, craps, and much more. Right now, new casino users can get up to 1,000 casino bonus back, plus 250 free spins on the new slot game, Tree Wishes, a Bet Parks app exclusive. You must be 21 or older in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan to gamble. BetParks.com has the terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So we've had a jam-packed show. Jeff Skversky here from Bet Parks Saturday on the PHLY Sports YouTube channel, live from the Bet Parks Casino, or Parks Casino at the Sportsbook here. We've had a lot to talk about. We've talked to Hollis Thomas about the Eagles, as well as ESPN.com Chargers reporter Chris Rim. We've also talked to, of course, Brad Feinberg and Eddie Alvarez, who will make an appearance here tonight for the UFC 323 match. So let's get back to the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about this at the start of the show. This is absolutely a must-win. They cannot fall to 8-5. Obviously, Jalen Carter will not be available in this game. He had a medical procedure on both of his shoulders. He's going to miss this one. Could miss a week or two. And Jordan Davis, interesting, he said this week, that the Eagles had a lot of extra energy at practice. And I hope that rubs off on Jalen Hurts, because we've talked about it earlier in the show, and I really want people to just have a perspective to say, take a deep breath. Jalen Hurts won you a Super Bowl. He almost won you 2 Super Bowls. He has 2.5 seconds to make a decision. With 300-pound guys trying to rip his head off, can we just relax? It is the most difficult position to play in sports. He's had 6 different play callers: Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Brian Johnson, Kellen Moore, and Kevin Patullo. So if you're him, your head has to be spinning, and take the money out. He makes a ton of money, more money than anyone will know what to do with. Take that out. It'd be difficult, right? If you have that many offensive coordinators. And go back to this, what he's dealt with in college at Oklahoma and Alabama. And I thought he had a very candid answer this week, saying that it's been a challenge to have all these play callers, including in college. Like I said, 14 in 10 years, 6 in 6 years with the Eagles. Listen to Jalen Hurts this week talk about how much of a challenge it's been to have this many play callers and the effect it's had on him. Take a listen.
You asked me about last game, but it's not just the last game I've watched. Just going back and watching a ton of different things, years, games from the season, the rhythm, the sequencing, and the structure that we had, and how organized we were. I think we got a lot of opportunity in front of us. But it takes a tight-knit group. It takes a collective, and all of those things are things that we can control in hindsight. So I see it as the same thing. You never run from accountability. You never run from owning the things that you can control, and there are a lot of things that we can improve on. There are a lot of things that we've done well in the past. There are a lot of things that we do well now. We just have to be more consistent in that. We got to be able to define the things that we want to do so it's clear for everyone and everyone's on the same page. And I start with myself first on that. Yeah, that's something that's normal for me. That's something that's normal for me. It's not the first time that I've done that. Honestly, it's something that I do often. Just a matter of reflecting and seeing, okay, how were things, and then how were things now, and that's in the good and that's in the tough, and so something that's pretty standard. Go back, go back.
Look, if you listen to Jalen there, I find it really interesting that he he does admit it's been a big challenge with his time with the Eagles. 6 play callers in 6 years, and he's working his tail off. Give him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to figure this out. They don't win a Super Bowl last year without him, and they're not going to win a Super Bowl this year without him. Take some pressure off the guy. Let him figure it out. He's working his tail off, and he has the ability to become, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback in Eagles history. Is he have the raw talent like Donovan did? Maybe not as much, but Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. And he's been sitting down with Nick Sirianni trying to figure this out, get on the same page. You have A.J. Brown in his ear. He wants the ball more. Okay, well, they've given them the ball more, and they're not winning. And I try to look at this just very simply. he's like, keep your eyes on the prize. And that, at the end of the day, is to win and to win a Super Bowl. And in his attempt to do so, in his attempt to get better, Hurts says he's been watching film, not just of the last game against the Bears or the Cowboys or other games against the Chargers and what they're doing. He's been going back years trying to solve this offense and the issues. He's gone back years and years and years. Listen to what Hurts said about his preparation and watching tape from years past.
I mean, it's different from year to year. It's different from year to year. And, I think when I think way back, I think about, the structure I had, the structure I had and how that was with my father when I played for him in high school. Something so simple like that can apply right now when you talk about consistency and kind of building and development and seeding and sitting under one thing so you can grow amongst that thing. That's been a big challenge in my time being an Eagle because I've taken accountability and I've gone about it in a humble way, and also it's you got to have an appetite to improve, and you improve most when things are uncomfortable, and I think maybe when things aren't going your way, it's about how you respond in those times. That's when you take those leaps. That's when you take those steps. And so to answer your question, I think all of the things that I've been able to experience, the things that have been on my path, those things have taught me how to self-correct in ways. Those things have taught me how to assess things and say, okay, I made a mistake. I know the importance of not being a repeat offender in something. But I think self-correction is a very powerful thing as a player, and especially when you got a lot of change around you. And so being able to have conversations about that and always trying to, in some ways, get people up to speed on how you see things, and then respect their perspective on how they see it, and just work to try and go win the game. All of that is for the same reason. It's not for a certain outcome. It's not for how I look or the aesthetic of what it is. It's just about finding a way to win, and that's where my heart has always sat with the game.
And there you have it. He's trying to figure it out, and he has the history to say, I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. Jalen Hurts, he's been unbelievable, and I think about the history of the city. Let's not run this guy out of town. He could go down as the greatest quarterback in Eagles history, and look, the last 3 games, it's been bad, right? 3 touchdowns, an interception, he's fumbled. It's been rough, and a report came out that Hurts doesn't want to run as much this season, and look, his numbers are down. Hurts has denied the fact that he's like, I don't know how we got here, that I don't want to run as much. The numbers suggest certainly that he hasn't obviously been running as much, but I was saying earlier, you can't have it both ways. You can't say earlier in his career, everybody thought he was running too much and we're worried about him getting hurt. The same worries we had with Carson Wentz and Michael Vick and Kevin Cobb and Donovan McNabb. Oh, they're running too much. You can't have it both ways. And so at the end of the day, I don't care how it looks as long as they're winning. And obviously it comes to the forefront when they are losing, and it becomes a big problem. But I think he's working at it, and he's trying to solve it and figure it out. And I think there's a lot of blame to go around, but I think to take the pressure off Jalen Hurts is key here. And, Patullo did say that the playbook is as big as ever. They're trying to find explosive plays, and certainly let's hope so that they figure this out when you think about what they have in front of them. 5 games to go, including the Chargers on Monday Night Football. All right, can we talk some baseball, please? The winter meetings are coming up in Orlando this upcoming week. Phillies have a lot of decisions to make. It has been very, very, very quiet so far with the Phillies. What are they going to do with Kyle Schwarber? What are they going to do with JT Realmuto, Ranger Suarez, Nick Castellanos? It sounds like he may be on his way out. We're going to find out what's going to happen with all of that, but certainly a big offseason, maybe at the crossroads here with the Philadelphia Phillies after the way things ended last season. Our next guest on the show today, let's bring in former Phillies general manager Ruben Amaro Jr., now a baseball analyst for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Ruben, thanks for joining the show. Glad to see you today.
Thanks, Jeff. Jen, thanks for having me, and excited to be to talk with you here on PHOI.
Thank you so much. Obviously, a big week coming up for the Phillies in baseball. I want to talk to you first, though. It's been about a year since you unveiled Slug Ball. I know that's something that's a passion project that you've spent a lot of time on, a lot of work on. It's been about a year. Tell us about, for all those that don't know about Slug Ball, tell me about Slug Ball. If you're giving me a sales pitch right now on this 4-on-4 baseball competition.
I think Slug Ball is sort of a team-based, short-form version of baseball, and it's built around the best part of the game, and that's hitting. It's a 4-on-4 team game. It's hitting only. There's no fielding, no base running, none of that. And it's built for competition, camaraderie, without the full-time commitment of a traditional baseball game. There's digital scoring, stat tracking, and there's all types of different things. Now, it's situational hitting. It's not about hitting the ball out of the baseball park. It's about situational hitting and being able to utilize and to control the bat, hit the ball opposite field, hit it up the middle, pull it. There's all types of different ways that you can score points, but it's basically, in a lot of ways, it's a little bit what you see in a game like pickleball that has been sort of an iteration of tennis and ping pong, and it's something that we think that a lot of people can enjoy. We're trying to hit a lot of different demographics. One of them being from high school kids all the way up through people of my age, 60 years old and older, who can still handle the bat.
I think it is genius because, when you think about it, I grew up playing baseball, obviously not well, but, you grew up playing baseball, but you don't see, pickup baseball games. I mean, it's hard to find 18 guys or 18 girls. It's hard to find all those people. So this is a way to do it on a smaller scale where you still have that competition. You're still doing baseball. Do you look at it that way that, okay, it could be the Top Golf or it could be the next pickleball?
Yeah, I think that's what sort of what we're shooting for. We're trying to scale it slowly. I think that we've had a few competitions already, and they've gone off very, very well. We're working on expanding a little bit. We're working on doing alumni games for for colleges. Guys who come back, they don't want to play a full game of baseball. Why don't we play a slug ball matchup against 4-on-4 or 8-on-8 or whatever the case may be. I think that there's ways to utilize our slug ball in a way that that's fun, still still competitive, but fun and something to do. And listen, you don't have to go out there and field. You don't have to throw unless you're the pitcher. You don't have to. All you got to do is swing the bat and control the barrel a little bit. And I think it's a cool way for people to continue to enjoy baseball after their playing days. Something that you don't really see all that often.
No, you're right. I had a lot of fun doing it. I was at an event. It was, I guess, in April or May. At the Trenton Thunder ballpark, which is a great minor league ballpark, and it was a lot of fun. I nearly took off one of your photographer's heads. I was so late on a 20-mile-per-hour fastball. I was so late on it. I hit it over into the dugout, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna kill this guy. But I'm probably not the best person to be doing it, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, I grew up playing baseball, and I do miss it. But it's easy to play basketball. It's not so easy to play baseball. So, I commend you for launching this as one of the co-founders of Slug Ball, former Phillies GM, Ruben Amaro. And Ruben, you talk about situational hitting. I find that the Phillies, when you look at last season and the last couple of years in the playoffs, that's something they've struggled with. And I think it's been frustrating. Kind of like the Eagles, when you see so much talent on the team that, okay, they're not doing A, B, and C. How frustrating was it for you to watch the way another Phillies playoff run ended so quickly?
It was frustrating as a fan and as a broadcaster. I mean, there's no question that the talent level that they have is very, very high. I mean, it's one of the best. It was one of the best top 4 or 5 teams in baseball, but they haven't been able to get over the hump. Obviously, Los Angeles Dodgers being that hump for them. But I think that there's winning is really, really tough, Jeff, and it's a difficult thing to do. Everybody's trying to do it, and when you get to that level, you have to be able to come up with the big base hit, the big pitch, the big play that's going to separate you from the other ball club, and they just have not been able to to perform on the offensive side of the ball particularly well. They've had chances to win. They've been in most series. They just haven't been able to get over the hump.
Yeah, it's been tough to watch. I think for everybody, and even the Phillies, like you could see it on their faces. You have all these stars, and I don't know if you feel this way. I've looked at this run similar to I look at the run that you guys had when you were the GM of the Phillies. It feels like there's these aging stars, and you're at this crossroads of, do we go younger? Do we provide youth? Do you see similarities here? Obviously, this group has not won a World Series. When you took over as GM after winning the World Series, you had these great runs that just, against the Yankees and, San Francisco and then the Cardinals. But after 2011, you had all these stars. And I imagine you had those conversations internally going, we have all these stars, Utley and J-Roll and Ryan Howard and Cole, but we're not going further. What do we do? Do you see similarities there, or do you think this is completely different?
I do see some similarities. The difference, I think, with my era in 2012 and beyond, that those guys, they almost to a man. I mean, many of those guys and some of the people that you named, including guys like Roy Halladay and others, a lot of those guys got hurt. And so when those guys go down and they physically are not able to perform, then it makes it even more difficult when you have multiples of those guys. These guys are not. These guys are in pretty good shape. They're not hurt. They are aging. They're starting to get older, but I think their performance level is still going to be very, very high, even for the next couple of years, depending on whether they bring Kyle Schwarber back, JT back. JT sort of dropped off a little bit offensively, but defensively he's been very good. And that continues to be an important part of, of what he does. So I think physically, I think that they are in much better condition just because they don't have the physical issues that some of the guys in 2012 for our ball clubs and beyond really struggled with. We lost, Roy Halladay to injury. We lost even Cliff Lee and others. Ryan Howard, Chase Utley with his knees and such. So they don't have, the Phillies don't have those issues with Trey Turner and Harper. Those guys are generally pretty healthy. Schwarber was healthy. JT was generally healthy. So that hasn't really been as big an issue. They have they did lose Wheeler there at the end of the season, but it seems like he's going to be back. So I think injuries have been a little bit of a different story, but they've had opportunities. I like to think that it's a little bit more like the late 70s Phillies, where they still have a lot of talent. They just need something, a spark, something to get them over the hump, whether it's that Pete Rose type player or whatever the case may be, to get them over the hump to win it as they did in 1980. I'm hopeful that this team, all it needs is like one little piece here and there to try to get them over the hump.
So what do you think the Phillies will do? These are two questions. What do you think the Phillies will do with Schwarber, with Real Muto, with Ranger Suarez, and obviously Nick Castellanos, maybe even Alec Boehm? What do you think they will do, and what would you do? You have had the experience of being a general manager. You've been in the game your whole life. What would you do, and what do you think will happen?
I think it's really important, and I've talked about this before, but one of the biggest strengths is their pitching, and it's really what's carried them the last couple of years as far as starting pitching is concerned. I think that it is important to have somebody who can be the general behind the plate to manage that pitching. I think JT is important to them in a lot of different ways. I think that Kyle Schwarber is every bit as important. And I do think that the Phillies will try and will ultimately be able to sign Kyle Schwarber. But if they don't, it will release them to be able to, to do some other things. There's some other players out there, the Cody Bellingers of the world, the Alex Bregmans of the world, and those types of players. I do believe that there's, and I knowing Dave Dombrowski, who is very astute, he's going to be a Hall of Fame general manager at some point. But this is a guy that I'm sure is lining up plan B, C, D, and E moving forward. But I do think that trying to shore up the catching position in JT and addressing center fielder are as important, maybe not quite as important as bringing back Kyle Schwarber. If you do bring back Kyle Schwarber and JT, then you're really having to put yourself in a position to be super creative. Then you have to think about moving a guy like maybe Strom or Bohm or even Marsh or Stott. I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do for this ball club. And you know, I just feel like there's an opportunity to change things up if they possibly can. Now, if they do sign Schwarber and JT back, then I really think it is incumbent upon them to try to shake things up somehow, and that may constitute moving a guy like Alec Bohm. I haven't talked about Castellanos. I think it's a fait accompli. I don't think he's going to be back with the Phillies. I believe at some point they're going to move him either somewhere off the roster as a trade, or I'm not sure if they're going to be able to outright release him. And I'm not sure if they want to walk away from $20 million, but I think they're going to try to figure out a way to move on from Castellanos and give themselves a chance to revamp that outfield.
Is it too early to ask this question, what their biggest issue is right now? I mean, is the biggest priority, you mentioned pitching, and, you know, they have Andrew Painter waiting in the wings, and, you know, certain guys have taken steps in the right direction, but you know, I feel like Ranger Suarez has been this forgotten guy, because the focus has been Schwarber, then Real Muto, then Ranger, but I don't feel like you can sleep on Ranger. He's been an unbelievable pitcher.
He's been outstanding, and he's great in the playoffs. You know, the durability is the big issue for me. He hasn't really ever pitched, thrown 32, starts. And I think he's going to be, based on what's going on in that industry right now, Dylan Cease getting 7 years is probably going to elevate how many years Ranger's going to get. I'm not sure how the industry is viewing him, whether they believe that he can be as durable as a guy like Dylan Cease. So I would assume that he's trying to look for at least a 5-year deal. My big thing on the whole Schwarber combination, I mean, there's it's a big piece of pie, right? And they are not unlimited as far as their payroll is concerned. I mean, they have limitations. So if you sign Schwarber, if you don't sign Schwarber, then it may open them up to consider going all pitching and going with, more, thinking about signing Ranger Suarez. I think a lot of it will depend on what happens with Schwarber, and they kind of have to go from there. Once that's resolved, that big piece of the pie, because it's a big one, because that AAV, that average annual value is going to be somewhere around a 30 number, then that's going to put them in a position to figure out, okay, now how are we going to work the rest of these pieces in there so that we can make some change and still have a really competitive team. I'm fascinated, Jeff, by this offseason because in some ways, some of these moves may end up hand-tying these guys a little bit and putting them in a position where they don't have a lot of flexibility, and yet there are two really good players in JT and Schwarber that in a lot of ways they really love to have back. So it's going to be a tough. I don't envy the job that Dave Dombrowski has right now because he's got to really thread a needle. That's going to be a difficult one to do.
Yeah, and you can make the case that they need some outfield help. I mean, they need a right-handed bat. They need some help there, and then and I know this is probably a pipe dream, and I always think of, man, it'd be great to have like Mike Trout here. Obviously, he's had his injury concerns, and I don't know if he wants that pressure of playing in his hometown, but I always think like, man, Mike Trout would be like this perfect fit here in Philadelphia. Maybe that's just like the fan in me, perhaps thinking something like that, like down the road. But I go, you need a right-handed bat with some pop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Mike Trout's really the answer. There's some guys out there that could help them. They've got the third baseman, I guess, in Japan, pretty darn good third baseman. They have Bo Bichette and guys like Alex Bregman are still out there. So there's some people out there that to consider. And but I would love to. We've talked about. I guess that name Byron Buxton's popped out, but it sounds like now the Twins are likely not to move him. So like I said, it's going to be a real big challenge for Dave Dombrowski to try to fill all the holes. I don't know that they will. I think the biggest thing, the biggest thing that's going to happen is to figure out what happens with Kyle Schwarber and then make adjustments from there.
Yeah, and obviously if JT Realmuto doesn't come back, and it sounds like he wants to be back, but then what do you do at catcher? I mean, he has been a staple behind the plate, and for a very long time, best catcher in baseball, and that is a big, big, big hole to fill if JT doesn't come back.
No question about it. And I love Rafael Marchand. I don't know that he can, catch 100 games for a championship caliber team. Right now, you have Stubbs and Marchand in your stable. They may have to go out and get a veteran. They probably definitely have to if JT doesn't come back and sign some sort of veteran. It's a little bit of a light, grouping of free agents in the catching area, but Dave Dombrowski's a pretty smart guy. He knows what he's doing, and so if JT doesn't come back, they're gonna have some challenges ahead as well.
All right, Ruben Amaro Jr., thank you so much. Does a great job on NBC Sports Philadelphia, breaking down the Phillies, a great baseball analyst, former Phillies GM, and of course the co-founder of Slug Ball. Best of luck as you head into year 2 with Slug Ball. Thank you, Ruben, so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. You be well.
You too. Ruben Amaro Jr., great insight on what the Phillies may do as they're days away from the baseball winter meetings in Orlando. Well, that'll do it for us today on Bet Park Saturday, live from the Sportsbook at Parks Casino in Ben Salem here on PHLY Sports. For Andrew Frazier, our producer, I'm Jeff Skaversky. Thanks for watching Eagles-Chargers Monday Night Football. Can they finally end that 2-game losing streak? We'll find out, and we'll talk about it. See you next week on PHLY Sports.
We all silly like the mayor.